Bonjour à tous, Dimitri, cryptoparadise.consulting. Je vous retrouve aujourd'hui pour une vidéo de la série des vidéos qui vont traiter du Liberland. Et ce sont des interviews que j'ai fait, que je ferai durant toute l'année 2023 des membres éminents du gouvernement du Liberland et aussi de certains représentants. Vous le savez, je suis représentant moi-même du Liberland à l'île Maurice. Donc ces vidéos sont en anglais. Alors vous êtes effectivement sur ma chaîne en français. Donc la vidéo va être sous-titrée. En revanche, sachez que j'ai aussi une chaîne en anglais qui s'appelle Crypto Paradise Consulting English. Vous pouvez vous y abonner. Il y a très peu d'abonnés pour l'instant. Et évidemment, je poste dessus les vidéos en anglais sans sous-titres. Donc si vous êtes à l'aise avec l'anglais, vous pouvez évidemment aller me retrouver là-bas également. Voilà, je vous souhaite un agréable visionnage.
Yep, I think here we are. So, hello, everybody. Very nice to be with you all today. This is my second interview of my Liberland interview series that, as you know, I started a few weeks ago. And as I explained at the beginning of the year, I'm going to do one interview every month with the key persons managing, let's say, the country, my heart country of Liberland. So today, last month, I was with Vít Jedlička, our president, and today I am with our justice minister, and I would design him as really a key person of the Liberland government. I know, Michael, you have lots of tasks right now, so we're gonna try and get an overview of, let's say, almost hopefully everything you are doing now. I know it's a lot, but we'll try to do that. So maybe before you want to say something as an introduction.
Well, welcome. Thank you for listening to this interview. Thank you for Dimitri. Thank you for making it happen. It's my pleasure to be here, and I will hope to introduce Liberland to you if you don't know it, or to tell you something more about it if you do and want to know more. That's our purpose.
Absolutely.
Here.
That's the purpose, exactly. I really want to grab all the aspects of this new country and how it is built, actually. So let's go into my questions. First, I'm going to just ask you to tell us and tell the audience a little bit about you, maybe your background, studies, where did you work, what field did you work in, and what countries did you live in?
So I studied law in Prague in the beginning, and then I went to work in state administration at the Ministry of Defense in Prague in Czechia in the 2010s, and I stayed there for 4 years, and I was writing laws which codified the defense legislature of Czechia. And actually we did some good job, for example, making sure that people in Czechia wouldn't have to be drafted, because there was the idea after 2014 that this is a good, to someone it seemed a good idea, but it wasn't, and we kind of stopped it. So that was good. And then I went to Utrecht to study law further at the University of Utrecht, and then I worked for a notary and for a corporation, and there I was a customers contact specialist, and also later a compliance manager, let's say, or not a manager, but like a compliance person who made sure that we were compliant with respect to the customer relations.
This was in Czech Republic still?
This was in Holland. I remained in Holland, and I'm there still. Yeah. In the Netherlands.
Oh, you live in the Netherlands right now. You're in the Netherlands.
Yes, I do. I'm right now in the Netherlands. Yes.
Okay, good. What made you come into the Liberland adventure, and how did it start? How did you become justice minister?
So the compliance work wasn't very engaging, and so I went in search for greener pastures. And Vít Jedlička was very kind to offer me an opportunity, and I took it. And I loved the freedom and the ability to work from wherever I am, from home, even without a pandemic. So that is really good. And it is a very diverse job. where I do a lot of things, whereas as a compliance specialist, that's the word I was searching for, I was basically doing just one job. So that wasn't fun. So that was the motivation. And I had heard about Liberland. I had heard, so that was 2021, but I had first heard about Liberland upon its foundation in 2015, upon its foundings in 2015. And, but of course, I still worked for the Ministry of Defense back then, so I couldn't join up back then.
Okay. Nice. What is your role in Liberland as a justice minister? How would you describe it? What are your main tasks that were assigned to you?
So I work to consolidate our constitution and legislature. I work as an all-purpose legal counsel. So when there is some contract to be written, assessed, adjusted, some legal problem like is this legal, is this optimal, is this compliant, then I am the one to be asked. I also represent Liberland in front of the worldwide audience and conferences and on other fora, online and offline. I work as a project manager for our blockchain project, which has to do with the laws because it is the blockchain for the political system of Liberland, which has to be turned into code, and I'm coordinating that and making sure that everything goes good. Also, some other software development together with Dorian, of course, who is actually a developer. I am not, although I know something about it, enough to be able to do this, but I'm not a developer myself. And also I'm searching for partners, sponsors, investors, even citizens sometimes.
Okay, yeah, we'll dig a little deeper into that a little later. During actually we're gonna a little bit more into those tasks. During my interview with Vit, we talked about the concept of double democracy, which I think is a very interesting concept. Which is actually this double democracy is actually the combination of corporate governance and majority decisions. That's how he put it, let's say. Could you elaborate a little bit on that with your law background?
Of course. So Liberland is a city-state in essence, and city-states have a history. They sprung up in ancient Greece, but the modern city-states were creatures of Italy and the Mediterranean, so not very far away from Liberland, actually. And they used to be sort of half private enterprises. And that gave them a lot of energy because they were intimately connected to the private sector. Hence, we are drawing on those roots and we are building a modern city-state in the spirit of free private cities, let's say, or free cities as they call it. However, we go much further than that. We are building a nation and a country, not just a charter city. So it's a charter city, but within the framework of a nation and a country with a real territory. And we are quite unique in that, unfortunately. We would very much be happy for others who would find other territories and do what we do. But we are the first, and we are the ones who went the furthest with it. And so we have double democracy in the sense that there is a chamber of investors who have oversight powers, and this is analogous in European corporations to the tripartite structure of a corporation, where you have the shareholders, and then you have the directorate, and then you had something like oversight. So this is Liberland's oversight. But it is also, in a way, Liberland shareholder meeting. But the shareholders are all citizens. These are just the biggest shareholders, the senators, we call them senators, and they have oversight powers. So they'll be able to repeal legislature, which they will see as detrimental to their investment. And then we have the normal democracy of all shareholders, including the senators, but not just them, everybody, all the citizens who own our governance token. The governance token is called Liberland Merit. If we want to draw analogies, it is something like a share in a housing cooperative. That's the closest like normal law analogy, although all analogies fail because we are a state, we are a country. And so that's a totally different world. But if we want to make like some kind of a parallel, very imperfect, it would be that. So it's not like a security with expectation of a future profit. It's a sort of a membership token, which allows you to join in on the governance of Liberland, on the political life of Liberland. And that political life happens via representative democracy and more importantly, I would say direct democracy. So people will be able to directly decide on laws and regulations. They'll be able to directly propose those things, and they'll be able to vote on them and repeal them. Voting is done as in a decentralized autonomous organization by tokens. So the tokens are the voting instruments, hence it's like the housing cooperative. And the repealing is done by headcount in order to prevent, let's say, like some kind of plutocratic takeover. So no matter how rich or poor you are as a citizen, you're all equal when it comes to defending yourself against government overreach, let's say, against too overzealous government. Now, we have a constitution that kind of prevents this, but overzealous governments are creative. So we have to be careful and we have to create checks and balances. And then last but not least, we have the representative democracy where people can delegate their votes to their representatives whom they vote every 3 months. That's not a lot. So it's a very flexible system. And you can even during the time, you can take back your delegation. So if the representative doesn't represent you, he will stop representing you. He will lose political power, or she.
Okay. Can we say to briefly resume that the shareholders, the owners of the merits of the Liberland merits, are the ones who can propose, who can vote for, let's say, positive legislature, and then the real majority people, whatever they have as a number of merits, they have the majority to decide to repeal or to reject any legislator. Would that be a kind of
well, that would be plutocratic, and we are not creating a plutocracy. So everybody has the power to propose legislature. And actually, the people who will probably do it the most are the congresspersons. So those people will be proposing the legislature, and then the normal merit holders, so citizens with political investment of 5,000 merits, will be voting on it. So that's not just the big, so to say, whales. Those whales have a special avenue to repeal legislature. And that's exactly the same power as normal people have by head count. So the whales have their own Senate and their own rules within that Senate, which they decide actually on. It's a corporate body, so they decide on their own procedures. And then they will be able, like, let's say there are 13 of them or something, they will be able, amongst those 13, repeal legislature, which otherwise would require 50% plus one of all citizens head count repealing the legislature. So this is a special power in a negative way. So the Senate is a negative democracy, and the citizens and the representatives are a positive democracy. And that's real democracy.
So I got it a bit wrong. So who is able then, when there is a proposal for a legislature, who is voting? Is it like head counting, or is it different?
You as a citizen will be voting with your merits.
Okay. So the more merits you have, the more you have a power in the voting.
Yes, right? to enact something. But if the rich merit holders enact something the populace doesn't like, then they will go in the public veto and they will say nay. All legislature has a default public veto open. You don't need to open it. You don't need to pay for it even. It just gets automatically open. And the moment that 50% of all citizens, not voting citizens, there is no time limit. It's just all citizens. The moment that 50% plus one of all citizens say nay, then the legislation gets repealed. So this is a mechanism to make sure that if people bother to vote, so to say, and it's 50% plus one, then in a democracy or a republic, such a law has no business existing on the books, because it's plain enforced upon the citizenship. And that's the most undemocratic situation you can have, and we need to prevent that. So that's why the public veto.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. Okay. Very nice. A very important aspect of Liberland is the fact that there is no tax, only voluntary contribution. Okay, tax is something that is obligatory, mandatory. So we call it voluntary contribution. Could you comment on that, and what type of revenue will the Liberland government receive finally?
Well, they will receive voluntary contributions, which is a system that is not new. There are many systems of voluntary contribution which work regularly and well. For example, housing, neighborhood taxes in the US, where basically if you don't pay, you're not very welcome in your own neighborhood. So of course you pay, and then there are some benefits to that. So all we're doing is getting rid of the gun, so to say, the stick. Like, people who trust and like to live in their country can be expected to contribute to it to the degree that they want the country to do something. And in the more advanced stages of the settlement, let's say, we're going to create a system like we have with the blockchain. We'll create a front-end system, an information system where you can log in and you'll be able to contribute not just to taxes, but also to the given project into which the taxes go. And so in that sense, it's a third democracy. It's like not just a dual democracy, but it's a sort of tripartite democracy, because you will be able to encourage your politicians by direct donation into the project, not into the politician, not into the party. It's not pay for play. Pay for play. No, that's not how it works in Liberland. It's that you limit them from abusing your funds, so to say. And so this is novel, and this could happen. This could be actually enacted in other states, and we hope to be the first out of many. There are states few states where people can decide on their taxes. I know one example, Switzerland. Probably Liechtenstein is the same because they have similar systems, but I'm not sure. I didn't check. Switzerland has a referendum also about this. There was a referendum like that, and the people decided on a tax which was lower than the current one, but it wasn't zero. So people want their government to do things for them. So why force them to do it? That's the Liberland revolution there. We don't need to force them. We're bringing this as a postulate, as a sort of like a theory which will be tested in practice. You don't need to force the people to get good services and to pay for good services. You don't need to do it on the market. You shouldn't need to do it in politics.
Yeah.
Also,
I completely agree on that. It was never really tried anywhere. If you talk about Switzerland, okay, there may be a majority or a referendum will decide that the tax becomes lower or higher. But at the end of the story, once it's decided, even the people who didn't agree with that, even if they're 10%, they will have to pay. So
indeed,
this will not be the case in Liberland.
Yes, we're more flexible than that. We're more accommodating to individual needs. Also, I wanted to add that there will be one more revenue stream which is worth noting, and that is the land fee, so to say. That's how we used to call it. But the thing is, like in Singapore, Hong Kong, or any other tiny country, basically, the land is retained by the government and is given in a deed of long-term lease to the people who develop it. That deed is almost an ownership, almost property. But it's time limited. It will be probably prolonged like indefinitely if you want to keep it. And then you pay rent essentially to the government. And why this is done is that it's like sane to do it in a place where land is at a premium because it's the super limited resource. We don't have that much of it, like in Singapore.
Yeah, we have exactly the same here in Mauritius. Sorry to cut you. Just to tell you, we have exactly the same here in Mauritius with all the lands which are close to the beach. So every land which is on the waterfront, belongs to the government. And if you want to own, you can own a house there. but you need to pay for 99 years. You pay a kind of rent, a yearly rate, rent to the government. If you don't pay it, you know, they can kick you out. I don't know about those procedures, but and that's it. And of course, but it means you're kind of, so this will be the case in all Liberland.
Yes, because it's so small. So it's like less than Singapore sized or Hong Kong sized. So it's even more relevant there. And what it also enables us to, because we take private property in Liberland very seriously. Private property means that you own it. Doesn't mean that the government has an oversight over it. If you own your bike, it's just yours. You can destroy it. You can modify it. You can keep it to rust for all we care. We don't ask you to pay any taxes on it upon acquiring or by demolition or anything. That's the same with the real estate property in theory. So if you would be the owner of your real estate, we couldn't do any city planning, any zoning, because it's your property. We can't act upon your property as a sovereign. It's yours. You're the sovereign. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world, but it will exist in Liberland. And so, because we need to do the zoning, because we need to do the city planning, because we are a tiny, tiny city, or will be a tiny, tiny city, we need to keep this construction also for that, and also to prevent long-lasting legal conflicts from large swaths of land becoming undeveloped. So indeed, if the people don't pay the land fee because the owner is unknown, then, for example, or inactive, or doesn't care, or just keeps it and doesn't develop it out of whatever reasons, they either have to pay the fee and then they can keep it and not develop it. It's their business. But if they don't pay the fee for some time, they'll be reminded, and then the land will be sold and they will be given their due for the land minus the fee they should have paid voluntarily.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. And now let's go to my next. So wait. Let's go back to this question just to be clear. So Liberland government will receive those fees from the land. Let's say we call it the land system, plus the voluntary contributions for, let's say, the different projects where citizens want to contribute.
Yeah, you have mandatory payments or mandatory costs, which are like the core stuff, buildings, if we will even have buildings, that sort of stuff. And that should be financed by the land fee because that's relatively stable. You basically can't not pay it, or your property will be sold to somebody else who will pay it. So that's you probably will, by the way, also pay the costs of the selling. So this is kind of a punitive measure. But you agree to that upon getting the property, So it's like a part of the contract. So that's the mandatory costs, and that's something that always has to be paid, and you can't get out of it because you agreed to it beforehand, maybe for many years. And then you have per project costs, and those should be paid by the voluntary taxes. And there may be some kind of a base level of the voluntary taxes, which everybody kind of is expected to pay. And you may be asked, hey, what's wrong with you if you don't pay? Are you in trouble? You need help? Like stuff like that. It's a different attitude, as you can see. Like the idea is that the default is that you make enough money that a percentage of that money, it's always a percentage, right? Like it would be a percentage, like I don't know how much, 10% or 5% or whatever, maybe 1%, even 1.5, that's peanuts for you. And if it's not peanuts for you, if you are if the life's costs are such that even like 1.5% is something you can't spare, then you need help. You don't need a policeman to get behind you, and So that's the idea. So this is the culture, but it's not in law. No law will say that. This will be a culture which we have to set up together with the citizens, and the taxes will be transparent. So you can also, it's kind of also a prestige thing, right? Like there will be some kind of, because we're on a blockchain. So and
actually, I think I was thinking about that. The fact that you will kind of advertise the persons who really contribute, who does this gesture as it will be a kind of being a model citizen somehow.
Indeed, I just wanted to say something very important from legal point of view. We will not advertise anything. The blockchain's pseudonymous, just like Bitcoin. However, the citizens will be able to say, oh, this is my address, and I paid so much in taxes. Therefore, I am a solid, trustworthy, solvent person. Now, here's the proof, because I pay so much in my voluntary taxes, yeah? But it's the citizen who decides whether they will dox themselves or not. We keep personal data secure and essentially decentralized. This is the idea, to keep it in the future 100% decentralized within the hands of the citizens who have the copies on their own computers all across Liberland or across the world. So that's the idea.
Nice. Okay. Thanks for answering that. That's quite clear. A big part of your job is the writing of the Constitution, which will then be voted. It's about the method used, the great chapters of the Constitution, and when will it be ready for vote? And I mentioned that I'm participating. So I saw all the presentations we have every Tuesday. So I know big work was done until today. So where are we standing now?
So formally, I'll start with the form. Like, the formal method has been changed, but now it is what Liberland's legislature will look like. And we use GitHub, where we use precisely the same tools as programmers use to keep their codes sane and to upgrade them. So there are repositories, and you can fork that repository and you can make a contribution. And this is kind of a popular thing where interested citizens will do that and can contribute directly to the legislative process. And the government is very open in this. In your country, the government should be open about it, but it doesn't have such clearly transparent tools. So we are committed to not hide things in the executive branch of the government. So that's one point. The ideal source or ideological sources, let's say, would be constitutions of states which have proven track records of human rights adherence and freedom. There is, of course, the United States as a sort of a granddad, but that constitution is in many ways archaic because it's quite old. Switzerland, Singapore, and other countries, and also European countries who don't have such a proven track record, but they have a proven track record of something else. Let's call it rule of law. Those countries are peaceful, well-ordered, and maybe some people, or many people, may feel them not free, so we're not borrowing that, of course. But peaceful and well-ordered, well, we like that, right? And legislature, which makes sense. So legislature-wise, it is sort of a mix between the Anglo-American system and the European system. Actually, it's very close to the Dutch system where I live, because you have few laws which are written in a European style, meaning legible, because with all due respect, Anglo-American laws are not technically well done. As a European, I don't see them technically well done. We do it better because laws are very important in Europe and judges less so. So in Liberland, we write the laws like the Europeans do, but then the judge has the power to go before the law and to basically concretize the law and to specify for the given situations by the way of precedent. So precedents are binding, which is kind of the case in Holland, and it's less of a case in other European countries. So it's like a mix of that. And so the Constitution itself, coming back to that, is ordered from the chapter 1 or book 1, which is the basic principles of liberty, where property is codified as a constitutional protected class, so to say. So the government has to uphold private property and not infringe on it. Also, people have to uphold private property of each other. If they infringe on it, they are liable for damages and for other retribution, primarily by the citizen or person who is being infringed upon. But in order to keep some measure of order, there is a public protector of property called the state or the government, or actually the Liberland state, which acts through the government. Let's be very clear. It's the state is the public protector, and the main and basically only purpose of the state is to ensure that property is protected of those people who do not have the power to do so themselves, but have the willingness to do so themselves. And it can be that they are not rich. That can be that they are not there when fire happens and the fireman has to go on their property to douse the fire and so on. So that's the role of the state. Second book of the Constitution is a book which limits the government, which tells it that it has to be to have balanced budget, that it has to uphold human rights, and it codifies human rights. It codifies basic freedoms like the freedom of commerce, freedom of movement, and it sets up certain basic constitutional policies. Like, that's kind of a controversial one, but it's a necessary one. Liberland adheres to public international law. Liberland adheres to neutrality, so we're not into.
But one question, you mentioned that budgets have to be balanced. That will be in the constitution. No debt.
Budgets have to be balanced. Yeah,
no debt anymore.
Okay. The government should not issue bonds beyond the governance token, which is not a bond. That's a governance token, and there's a hard limit on that. So it's in that way, it's a hard currency. It can do no shenanigans with the LLDs, which is the currency, actually. The real currency is called Liberland dollar right now. And it's also a crypto, and you can, and it has a fixed emission, which has nothing to do with government will, except that the citizens can adjust the emission, but that's the citizens, not the executive branch or anything. There is no shadowy central bank or any central bank in Liberland. So that's a good point, I think. Thank you. So yeah, neutrality. So we're not into wars and conflicts and taking sides. We're into free exchange of value between willing participants, between citizens of Liberland and of the rest of the world. Open borders as much as possible. We do have border services, by the way. We have to, because we're a tiny country. We're not like, if we were America-sized, we would likely be much more open border than we are going to be. But still, the system is rather permissive, I would say, or rational, where basically people who have criminal record would have trouble getting visa, people who have proven record of violence and so on. And we have we are setting limits on that. You have to kind of have a bank balance or crypto balance, which is provable, because you may need it to survive unless you find a job, right? To find some shelter in Liberland, to hire an apartment. So the type of minimum is checked for, but then everybody can find a job or any other means of employment in Liberland, and then they're fine, right? Like, and they will be asking for visa, and if they are there for 5 years, they'll get permanent residency, and so on and so forth, just like in Europe. It's kind of it's very similar to the surrounding countries in this way, but it's easier. It's much simpler. It's much more memorizable, and that's the idea. It's law made simple and law made powerful. Okay, next chapters, 3 chapters are the classical powers. Legislative, judiciary, legislative, and executive. Judiciary is the most important power. We already described that. We have a Supreme Court, unlike most of European countries, which have constitutional court. Supreme Court means that it can take a case in whichever stage, and it can just retract it, or even case which is already adjudicated. So that's like this special ad hoc court of oversight. Anglo-American system. This is like in America. I think India has also Supreme Court. I'm not sure, but it's an Anglo-American institute. So and of course America is the most important example of that. And then we have courts. Yeah. What should be said, and this is quite important, is that there is no government monopoly on most things the government does. So there is an option that there are private courts, for example, will spring up. Private courts have certain limits in law, which is already written, not adopted because we don't have a Congress, but prepared. You can see it in our GitHub. Private courts have to adhere to liberty, to property, and so on, and human rights. So, like, let's say, okay, can I be a little bit controversial here? I don't mean to The controversial component.
Sure.
Okay. Let's say you have a Sharia court, and Sharia, it depends on which interpretation, but certain interpretation would say that women have less of a witnessing power than men. Well, that would not fly in Liberland. That certain punishments are there that wouldn't fly in Liberland at all. That sort of stuff. Status is according to religiosity, according to your adherence to religion. If you are like a Muslim, a mu'min, or a dhimmi, or something like that, no, that wouldn't fly in Liberland. So the law prohibits that. But beyond that, you can have your own courts, and you have to adhere to the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court can, if you have like a Jewish rabbinic court, the Supreme Court will be able to attract that case for itself as well. Yeah? So it's really Supreme Court of all courts. But this is not just for the courts. This is also for like security, providing neighborhood security, for example. It doesn't have to be a matter for the police only. You can have private security agencies. Like, why not? The limits to that, the hard limit is criminal law. There cannot be private criminal law in Liberland because that wouldn't work, for many reasons. You can ask me why. It's difficult. Actually, people say, can I digress here a bit?
Sure.
Okay,
No,
people who are theorizing about things like anarcho-capitalism, imagine that the difficult things are the army, for example, in ANCAP. But that's not difficult. That's easy. What is really difficult is investigation of crimes. Because investigation of crimes in a real anarcho-capitalism would be if you break in to a house to find evidence and the guy is proven innocent later, the police would have to pay him damages. And so differently moneyed people would be differently protected by the law, basically. That's where it would lead. I mean, I'm skipping a few steps in the logical train, but just think about it. Okay, so we want to prevent that.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have legislative, which we already described, and executive, which we already semi-described. It's quite traditional government, but it has just 4 ministries, balanced budget, and a lot of limitations. And then we have the Senate, which is the corporate governance, and we already talked about it. And that's kind of a public veto limited to a few investors, and it doesn't have to be 50% of all people, but it has to be the investors' collective will, according to their own rules, which they set for themselves. And they will also have their own like organs of oversight later. They can have like this is very similar to Europe or America. Actually, it's called fourth state power of oversight. And that's like organs which make sure that the budget is really balanced, that there are no hidden payments to anyone and that sort of stuff. Ombudsman, they could have an ombudsman for human rights. That's not a non-libertarian institute. Too close. Like people may be afraid that, again, that this is setting up some kind of a state for the rich. Liberland does not prevent the social state from springing up. It just has to be voluntary. So there will be no tax money given to social services because tax money is not collected, first off, and second off, it would be theft. But if people decide cooperatively to set up their own social services, even basic income, even the most social state in all of the world, they could. It's just that nobody will be able to go to the state and say, to force them. But if there is a contract between the citizens, and let's say that nobody will deal with you unless you pay for that thing, that social service, then that's allowed because that's cultural and that's voluntary in the sense of the freedom of the contract. So same with medical insurance. We in Europe see that the European systems are restrictive on freedom, but on average are more efficient than the American system. Like, okay, there is an argument about this, but pure number-wise, we pay $1 for more music than the Americans pay. Okay, and I don't want to go too deep into this, but the problem with medicine is that it's regulated on the supply side, because the doctors have to be accepted as such by an institution, by the universities and such, and the chambers of doctors, the professional organizations. That makes for an inherently regulated system. The problem is that you really can't, that there is not much of a will to deregulate that. People want to have an oversight that their doctor is a doctor and not a quack. So So the people in America, at least, I don't know about Liberland, right? And if Liberlanders will want it differently, then okay, free market it is. But if they will do something like the other people in the other parts of the world do, where they are very happy about having their doctor credentialed, then something like a voluntary cooperative system of semi-mandatory, contractually mandatory insurance may be created, not by the government. We're not going to do anything in that, but by the people themselves on a voluntary basis, based on their own mutual multilateral contracts and customs. Again, if you don't pay into that, you have a problem. And then we have to ask why you don't pay into that. And you need to be helped. Just like I told you before about the low voluntary tax or a voluntary contribution.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Now, could you elaborate on blockchain governance? You came a little bit into that, talking about the LLM and LLD. LLM, LLD are the two Liberland cryptocurrencies. LLM is Liberland Merit. LLD is the Liberland dollar. Tell us briefly what they're used for.
LLM is the governance token, and it's your share in Liberland. It's not an investment instrument or a security or anything like that. It's your share. It's a membership card, and it's a membership card with a value, like with a weight. If you have more of them, your vote weights more. So that's the LLM. LLM. Most of the LLM will be vested in the governance as a sort of voluntary contribution in itself. This is what you have to do in order to use your LLMs to get to vote or to gain citizenship. That's why it is probably expected to be pretty stable in value, but you can't predict the markets. LLDs are money. We hope they will be used to buy commodities and services and exchange. They are the money supply increases per year in a fixed way, and that way is up to the politics, not up to the central bank, but up to the legislature, which, as we discussed, is the citizenship. So the people decide how much per year of an increase of monetary supply they will allow, hence how much actually decrease on their, or like decrease of the value of the supply which there already is, which means their savings. So we can be quite sure it won't go too high, are we? Can we, right? Like if you are deciding on your savings having sort of a negative rent on them, then we can be sure that you won't choose for too much. Why isn't it zero or a negative? That's because this increase actually represents a payment to the validators, who are the people who keep the network decentralized. So actually this, like, we could say inflation, although, and in Austrian economic sense, it would be inflation, it would be called inflation. In the modern economic sense, let's say it would not, it would be increase in money supply. That's why I'm using that term. That's actually a service fee, or mostly a service fee, to the people who keep the system decentralized, who keep the bank working. Well, it's not a bank, it's a decentralized replacement for a bank, much better than that. It's a bank for the 21st century, without bankers and without banksters, so to say.
Okay. Okay. Can we, when just a practical question, if I have LLM as a citizen, when I vote, do I pay with LLM, or do I just put them aside to vote, or are they lost when I vote?
They're not lost. You just put them aside for that one vote. You can vote with the same LLM on the same on more issues simultaneously.
Okay.
It's just a voting power. And if you vote on the same issue twice, that's also possible. However, the first vote will get erased. So if I would vote with like 300 of my, for some reason, like I wouldn't vote with the maximum balance, which I can do, although why would I do it? But let's say that I gain LLM later. So within the referendum, I buy more LLM and I invest them into the state. So first, in the beginning, I give 5,000. Then I buy more, 2,000 more, and I put them into the state. into the voting system, into the voluntary contribution, so to say. Then I have 2,000 more, and then I vote with 7,000 merits on the same issue. What happens is the old vote gets erased, and the new vote only applies. And you can vote 10,000 times if you wish, but you have to pay a little transaction fee for the. It's not much. It's like cent or something. You have to pay a transaction, like really, like a USD cent. That's how much it is, or how little, for every vote, in order to be able to obtain the services of the validators again. So it's not. The system is protected against spamming, because there are ways how to attack a system by doing too many things at one time, and then the system gets overloaded. So if that happens in Liberland, that means somebody has just paid the validators a lot of money. Made a happy
when you say when you pay the validators with the cent, this is paid with LLD or with LLMs?
LLD, with money.
LLD.
LLM is no money.
LLD.
LLM is a share.
So once I have LLMs, you actually never spend them. You always keep them.
Yeah, mostly, unless you invest them, which you can start investing, and it's like 10% per year, and then they're yours, and then you can use them as money. We do allow this type of secondary market, but that's not the intended use, and we actually like leave that use to the free market. We do not support or encourage it or discourage it. It's up to you. And you can even like sell your citizenship in this way.
You can even what?
Sell your citizenship. You can.
Okay.
But it's regulated.
Okay.
It's regulated. It's like he has to. The new citizen has to go through the KYC and the immigration procedure, but then they would like obtain your account instead of paying directly to the government.
Okay. Okay. Actually, it's when you buy your LLMs that the government gets the contribution, right? Because you buy them with like
with USD
fiat
or
dollars
Bitcoin.
or
Yeah.
Okay, good. Why did we choose to create actually new currencies instead of using existing ones? I mean, that's a stupid question somehow, I guess, but try to explain that quite
well,
clearly.
we don't want to be dependent on the dollar or on, I don't know, euros or something like that. We're a sovereign country. We're not a member of the EU and can't become one, because the EU does not accept tiny countries. Monaco, San Marino, they are not EU members. Vatican, and they can't be because they're too small, and their system just does not support such small countries. So we may, however sympathetic or non-sympathetic to the EU we cannot be a member. That's not a thing. So we are a sovereign country, and so we have a sovereign currency policy. Why not Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin, of course, is an official legal tender of Liberland, has been even before the Liberland dollar had been thought up, and it remains so. So we do have Bitcoin as a legal tender, and we will remain having Bitcoin as a legal tender. However, Bitcoin is a good store of value, and we want a money which is more a circulating thing, that's kind of stable. Like, okay, Austrians, I'm sorry for even mentioning stable monetary value. Of course, that's not the point of money, but it's what is expected of money in the world we live in. Okay, so in a better organized world, the money value would never be stable. It would be like this, and then it would go down, because we have progressed. And services are easier to obtain as we have progress, unless there is some huge crisis where it goes boop and then it goes down. So you can pay more for your money. So actually the value of the money goes up and the prices go down. This is what I mean in that sense.
Yeah.
So it's like an anti-inflation, like a deflation. Actually, money should be deflationary, just like Bitcoin is. But in the current system of the world, let's say, money is inflationary, and we have to be compatible, or you're compatible or you're dead. Like it doesn't matter how good your system is. If you're not compatible with the rest of the world, you'll be isolated. You won't be able to benefit in the economies of scale of the world, and that will destroy your system or whatever. You will be living in poverty. You can't do that.
So
you can't be incompatible.
LLD will be the official, let's say, Liberland currency, but in Liberland, you can use any currency you wish, right?
We don't care. Government cannot.
Yeah, exactly.
Monero.
You can use the LLD, but you can use Bitcoin, dollars, euros, whatever you wish.
Yeah, and we will like the governments will likely hold accounting also in Bitcoin. So like in that sense, Bitcoin and LLD are privileged as the official currencies. We will maybe even Ethereum and like maybe even some other cryptos, but mainly Bitcoin and LLD. And but you can sell, you can have a shop and you can say, I only accept Monero for some reason, and at least initially this will be okay. Monero is specific, it's not non-transparent, so we don't know what we will be forced to do based on international rules, internationally enforced rules, which we will have to obey, because just like I said, you're either compatible or you're dead. Like it's that simple.
Okay. That's actually an interesting argument, because I think I hope countries which will adopt Bitcoin will not die. I mean, like, let's take El Salvador. Yeah. So we'll see. But I the fact of adopting Bitcoin doesn't make you essentially die. It's not like so it could be. So there could be countries in the future which adopt Bitcoin and which still will be alive, and I even think they will be prosperous.
Well, yes, but the thing is, with El Salvador, they also have US dollars, right?
Right.
And actually they have more US dollars than they have Bitcoin, because Bitcoin in itself as layer 1 is not. It's more a store of value, and then in an ideal Bitcoin world, you would have layer 2s, which would work like something like our LLDs, but they will be based on Bitcoin. And this is something that will then happen, and there will be more of those things, and there will be like competing with each other for the attention of the people, and they'll all be covered by Bitcoin. Like you can always return them for an amount of Bitcoin, which is based on on the Bitcoin that thing, Bitcoin/that thing currency pair on the market. And this is what we're doing.
Yeah, got you.
And we may even do that more in the future. Like we may be even more open to the Bitcoin blockchain, but I can't promise anything. This is something the citizens will have to decide on. But they will be in full governance, and there are many people amongst us who are so-called Bitcoin maximalists, and they think that other cryptos are untrustworthy, and so they will, of course, have the interest of connecting Liberland dollars and Liberland merits closer to Bitcoins. And feel free to do that. If that's decided by law, then the government will obey that, because it must.
Perfect. Great. Okay, let's go to my almost last question, which is regarding the settlement now in Liberland. I know big topic now. Can you explain to us how the process is ongoing? And I know lots is going on right now. Actually, at the time we're talking, there are settlers over there. And the other question regarding that is, what are the troubles with Croatia all about? I was there during the Floating Man Festival last August, and I remember, we had all those troubles. I'm together, and we remember how we were stopped by Croatian police when we tried to go there. Tell us a little bit about that. What's the issue there, to explain it to the audience?
So the issue is that Croatia, there were misunderstandings and false reports about us, which created a sort of measure of distrust towards all things Liberland in the official circles of Croatia. Let's put it that way. And we have to repair that misunderstanding, and we're working on that. It's now a little bit easier than before, but there is still a long way to go. And this is what I would like to say about this. And this is because I don't want to disrupt any happenings on the ground by saying something that is not yet done. For example, not yet finished. Like let's keep people doing their job, both Croatians and Liberlanders. And when there are results, let's inform about those results.
Okay. I see. Great. So maybe my last question will be a more brighter question, and asking you, as I asked actually Vit on my last question, give us your views on the role you think Bitcoin or eventually other crypto will play in the future of the world?
Well, Bitcoin has the power to become the world reserve currency. Obviously, it's super poised for that, and then you would have that Bitcoin world that I already described, which means that like neo banks, let's say, well, not banks, but big nodes within regions or within, if it's not regional, it doesn't have to be. It can be like groups of people who kind of trade together and form some replacement for nations which we can't even imagine, or something like Liberland but bigger. They will like clear in Bitcoin between themselves, and then there will be the layer 2s which don't need to be cleared most of the time. They're just locked in smart contracts, and they will then serve as the local means of exchange. They will probably start competing with each other, which is kind of not the case in the current crypto space. As far as I understand, the competition is much different than between companies, because those they compete for the segments of the people, but they don't compete for like vital resources most of the time. It depends on the project. Like some of the projects go hard into debt, but many don't. And so you can have many solutions work together, live together, and stay together, stay alive for longer than companies in the tech sphere would be. Like in the tech sphere, you see Facebook taking over from MySpace and all the other social networks. You don't see that really in cryptos. So in an ideal Bitcoin world, there would be like competing layer 2s who would probably, many of them just remain next to each other. People don't care because you can flip them with one click, and there will be like very low fees like in Lightning Network, and it will be super simple. And maybe you will even have like layer 3s, which will just translate those currencies into some kind of abstract units of value or units in Bitcoin or something like that. And then you'll be just transacting with those abstract units of value, never needing to clear even the layer 2s, let alone the layer 1, or almost never needing to clear it. And so it would be very fast. Like they say the Bitcoin blockchain is slow. Doesn't matter, because those layer 2s and layer 3s will be faster, much faster than the Visa, much faster than anything we have. So this is the Bitcoin maximalist sort of vision now. And the crypto vision is that you also have other blockchains, other layer 1s next to it, which have different specialized roles, let's say, or we just flat out compete against Bitcoin, and some of them would have better qualities eventually, whilst keeping the decentralization and freedom orientation of Bitcoin. It's not physically impossible. It's just very rare currently, because
what's your take? Yeah, what's your take on that? Where do you think it's going? Layer 1s, or like you're more into the maxi way of thinking?
I mostly hold Bitcoin, so practically I would be more of a maxi in that sense. But I think it is. I would, if I was to make like a bet, I would think there will one day be a second Bitcoin, which will be as good as Bitcoin in what Bitcoin is good at, but it will have different advantages, and they will start truly competing with each other. It will last. It will have a proven track record. Whichever of those cryptos it is, I don't know, because if I did know, I would invest into it. So sure. That's the idea. But so I would, if I was to bet, I think like keep it like one system to rule them all is not how markets work if they're not regulated, which tells us that there is something regulated on the tech market, because that works exactly like that. So it's one system to rule them all, or 2 or 5 or whatever. Yeah. So the regulation could be that there are some kinds of limits in like the supply. Like for example, you have rails for trains. So there may be something like that in the tech world, which is more difficult to observe than a rail. So it could be natural limitation, doesn't have to be regulation, but it's usually regulation. And in the crypto world, there is not much regulation. So I would expect a multiplicity rather than a unity. But of course, most of those cryptos you now see, I'm not saying they will die, because they're not companies. That's what I told before. They're like different. It's a different competition, which is not so destructive. It's a creative but not destruction. But many of them will die.
Yeah,
especially the tokens, okay. So on, and many more will never reach all-time highs again.
For sure.
Or in Absolutely. A long time. which is dangerous. So that's why I'm mostly in Bitcoin. Yeah.
Like I am. Like I am.
Yeah.
Okay, that was very good conclusion. Thank you so much, Michael, for being with me today. This was a long interview. I see we spent almost an hour together. You made many points very clear. Do you want to say something as a conclusion before we just quit?
Thank you for your attention. Liberland is now in a crucial time. It needs more support than ever. So if you want to support us, please let us know. If you want to become a citizen, please let me know or let my colleagues know. You know how to reach us. And even like a monthly contribution of whatever little you can spare, work or perhaps money, will help immensely. No amount of thought materialized by work of hands where you help with something or perhaps contribution is wasted. We're not a big government, and we would like to engage with you. We would like to know you. We would like to hear your thoughts about our state and perhaps welcome you as a new citizen.
Okay, great. Absolutely. And don't hesitate. I'm telling that also to conclude. Don't hesitate to write to me. We'll be happy to forward any comment or any inquiry, of course, to the right persons in Liberland. Thank you very much, and all the best to you. And see you very soon. Thank you for that.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.